Welcome to Module 2. In this module, we'll discuss the many Jewish holy days and celebrations, as well as some of the dietary laws. We all look forward to celebrating holidays, spending time with our family, enjoying special foods, and remembering holidays past. Jewish holidays are also full of tradition and rich in history. Some may focus on solemn occasions, while others are very lively and festive. When we gathered with the focus group to gain some insight into the Jewish culture and traditions for this project, we learned there were many Jewish holidays, some that were rarely celebrated. As Maria discussed in Module 1, depending on which particular Jewish movement and individual practices, and whether they are in a nursing home, a hospital, or living at home, the commemoration of any special holiday may be expressed in different ways. Our goal for this module is to help guide you, the caregiver, by providing information about many Jewish holidays, holy days, ritual observances, fasting practices, and most importantly, to allow you to feel comfortable asking for more information. For the purpose of this training, we'll focus on the Sabbath, the most important ritual observance in Judaism, and 8 of the most widely celebrated Jewish holidays. Now, it may take a while to get familiar with some of these names and pronunciations, but we certainly don't expect you to remember them all. Our guide at the end of the video will provide a glossary and a calendar and other useful resources that can be printed out. Understanding these Jewish holidays will assist you in providing a sense of community and belonging for those in your care, which we all know is a critical component in caring for the whole person. First, let's talk about the Sabbath, which, except for Yom Kippur, is considered the most sacred holy day. It's the most beloved part of the Jewish religion, a time when families are drawn together. The Sabbath begins at sundown, 18 minutes before sunset on Friday evening, and continues for the next 25 hours until at least 3 stars are visible after dark on Saturday night. The Sabbath is primarily a day of rest and spiritual enrichment. The word Shabbat, or Sabbath, comes from a root word meaning to cease, to end, or to rest. And because it's a day of rest, observant Jews generally refrain from working during that time. Now, if you're providing care for an Orthodox Jew, you may need to assist them with some everyday tasks. There are some tasks that are not performed during the Sabbath for Orthodox Jews. As Maria mentioned in Module 1, Orthodox Jews strictly adhere to Jewish law. This may include not using electricity, which would mean not answering or making telephone calls, adjusting an electric bed, even turning on lights or using a nurse call light, or even using an electric razor for personal grooming. Another subject that may create some concern is not being able to write during the Sabbath. This could be an issue during admission and discharge, or even filling out menus. It's important for the staff to be aware of these observances and accommodate the Jewish individual. They may not ask you to help them, but by being aware of these restrictions, you may offer your assistance. We don't often think of driving as a task, but this is also generally prohibited during the Sabbath. And now this is especially vital for the family members who may not be able to drive to and from the hospital in case of an emergency. It's important to ask questions about the family's observant guidelines during the admission process. The Sabbath may also be a time for a festive meal with family members, lighting of candles, reciting a blessing, and then reflecting on the events of the week. Now, for safety, you may want to provide electric candlesticks for this ritual. Making a special effort to observe these important days will provide the person you care for, as well as their family members, a sense of acceptance and value. Now let's begin to discuss Jewish holidays. We'll start with Passover. The name Passover comes from the Bible story in Exodus, marking the freedom of the Israelites from slavery. If you recall the story, the Israelites were instructed to smear the blood of a lamb on their doorposts so that the plague of death on their firstborn would pass over their homes. Traditional customs for Passover include serving a Seder, which is a ritual meal with food symbolizing aspects of the Passover story. Since this can be difficult to achieve for residents in a facility, providing unleavened bread called matzah and grape juice in place of wine with their dinner would allow the Jewish residents to practice their tradition. This holiday commemorates the Jewish people receiving the Ten Commandments that Moses brought down from Mount Sinai. It's also a time when the Jewish people were charged with the privilege and responsibility to be a light for the world. This holiday is highlighted by Torah study. You may remember that we heard about the importance of the Torah in Module 1. Now, ways to commemorate this day include having the women light candles, listen to the Torah reading of the Ten Commandments, and on the second day, it's customary to recite Yizkor, a prayer in memory of a departed relative. This prayer is available for download at the end of this module presentation. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. This two-day celebration is viewed as the birthday of the world, a time to begin life anew. Some suggestions for celebrating this event include lighting candles each night and serving apples and honey, which symbolize the wish for a sweet year. It's also important to recognize that some residents may want to attend services at a local synagogue. And if at all possible, you may want to assist in making arrangements for them to do so. The most solemn day in the Jewish calendar is Yom Kippur, a day of atonement. It's a day spent asking for forgiveness and to atone for the sins of the past year. Since Yom Kippur is a very solemn, somber day, spending time at the synagogue would be ideal. If unable to do so, it would be appropriate to provide some quiet time for prayer and reflection. Yom Kippur is a complete Sabbath. No work is generally performed on that day. Some Jewish residents may want to refrain from eating and drinking, even water on Yom Kippur. But as always, any of these restrictions can be lifted when a threat to life or health is involved. Also known as the Festival of Booths, this is a harvest festival which is celebrated for 7 days. The word means booths and refers to the temporary dwellings the Jewish people lived in while out in their fields during the harvest time. Building, decorating it, and spending time eating and camping out in the dwelling can be a great activity for a family. This project could be adapted for Jewish residents as well as for others in the community. Another important Jewish holiday is Simchat Torah, a day for rejoicing with the Torah. In earlier modules, we've learned the importance of studying the Torah, and so this holiday marks the completion of the annual cycle of weekly Torah readings. Each week, a few chapters from the Torah are read, starting with Genesis chapter 1. On Simchat Torah, the last Torah portion is read, then proceeds immediately to the first chapter of Genesis, as a reminder that the Torah is a circle that never ends. This is a cheerful holiday with lighting of candles. Simchat Torah flags may be purchased to arrange around a nice festive lunch or dinner. This would also be an ideal day to arrange for a visit to a synagogue. Now, many of us have heard about Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights, but perhaps not aware of the significance of this special holiday. The word Hanukkah means dedication, and it celebrates the victory led by Judah and his 4 brothers over the Syrian Greeks in reclaiming and rededicating the temple in Jerusalem. For those of us who are not Jewish, Hanukkah is probably one of the best-known Jewish holidays, not because of the religious significance, but simply because of its proximity to Christmas. The religious observances related to this holiday include the lighting of candles, eating special foods, and exchanging gifts. The candles are arranged in a candelabra called a menorah. It holds 9 candles, 1 for each night, plus a shamos, a servant candle, placed at a different height, used to light the other 8 candles. For Hanukkah, the food service staff may want to prepare traditional fares such as latkes, which are potato pancakes, and even jelly donuts. Inviting children from a local Jewish school to share in these delights and sing Hanukkah songs for the residents would be such a special treat. Recipes and songs are provided at the end of this presentation for your use. Purim, also called the Festival of Lots, is another holiday that has great significance in Jewish history. Purim is one of the most joyous and fun holidays on the Jewish calendar. It commemorates a time when the Jewish people living in Persia were saved from extermination. Purim is a Persian word meaning lots, referring to the lots cast by Haman to choose a fitting day to kill all the Jews of the Persian Empire. It's customary to hold carnival-like celebrations on Purim, to perform plays and parodies, and to hold beauty contests. To celebrate this holiday, a party with Purim costumes, songs, and festive foods would bring such joy for the residents. So far, we've discussed many different Jewish holidays and emphasized certain foods and food preparation. It's important, especially for those providing care in nursing facilities, to become familiar with Jewish dietary laws. You've probably heard the word kosher, but like many, aren't quite sure what it meant or what the regulations are for following this way of eating. The Hebrew word kosher means approved, and the word kashrut is a body of Jewish dietary laws dealing with what foods can and cannot be eaten, and how those foods must be prepared and eaten. Not all Jews obey dietary laws or keep kosher. Others keep kosher at home, but not while dining out or at someone else's home. It may become increasingly difficult for a Jewish individual to keep to the dietary laws, especially if they're residing in a nursing facility or hospital. Many facilities may not have a kosher kitchen. This will be discussed in more detail in Module 4. While those who do observe kashrut very strictly are in the minority, it's important to get acquainted with all the dietary laws for providing and serving kosher if you work with Jewish individuals. You can make such a difference in a person's life by being aware and sensitive to their meals, which we all know is an essential part of their daily living. So what's involved in keeping kosher? Simply put, meat and dairy are always kept separate. This means with cooking, eating, and serving. A good example of this would be a cheeseburger. A piece of meat would not be served with a dairy item such as cheese. Special food preparation, handling, and serving is a rather complex task. All utensils, equipment, pots and pans, dishes, silverware used to prepare and serve meat are kept separate from all dairy foods. There are also foods called parv, foods such as eggs, fruit, vegetables, grains, and fish, which are considered neither meat nor dairy. These may be eaten at any time. Many Jewish individuals may choose not to eat pork, shellfish, or other food items. All this may be very new for you. I know it was for me. The most important point to remember is to ask the Jewish patient or the family what dietary laws they follow. How can you best meet their needs? Additional help may be obtained by asking the rabbis or contact a synagogue in your community. We know you'll have many questions regarding holy days and kosher foods. You'll want to watch the question and answer program at the end of this series. All this information is available for you to download or to watch over and over again at your convenience. I hope this presentation has given you some insights into the Jewish traditions and ways to create memorable holidays for the Jewish residents you serve. We hope you watch Module 3, which will discuss the important issue of death and dying. Thank you.